Okay, let's begin. I think Elaine is missing today. Right, so continuing on the theme of artists today, I want to explore the art of Henri Matisse. So I think a lot of people know of Henri Matisse, but not necessarily the details of the work that he did. I think many of these artists often get overshadowed by another artist who becomes popular in every decade. So I think currently it must be all Van Gogh. A few years ago in the 80s, it was all Picasso. So it's almost like every generation discovers some new modern artist and then everyone else falls behind. So unless you are really studying art or art history, you'll end up not knowing more than what is in popular culture. With all these Van Gogh 360 and everything, suddenly everyone knows everything about Van Gogh. And that's actually good because he was quite a significant artist, and for a long time, very few people knew about him. And I think something similar is the case with Henri Matisse as well, except that he did not have a very tragic life. He lived till 94 or 96. And he was very successful. He got a lot of commissions. So I guess because everything was so non-tragic, nobody feels bad for them, and then they don't even become. I mean, everyone loves a tragic hero, and then they want to root for the underdog. But that's not the case with Matisse at all. So he was born, to put things in perspective, about 10, 15 years after Van Gogh. Van Gogh was born in 1853. Henri Matisse was born in 1869. And he lived up to 1954. So if you think about it, it's a huge time frame. We think of Van Gogh uh, as an artist from a really long time ago. That's because he also passed away very early. But I mean, by the time Matisse died, my parents were both born. So for me, it suddenly seems like, oh, that's very modern. In fact, maybe he passed away 10 years before my brother was born. So it seems much closer than we think of the other artists. For that matter, Picasso passed away in 1973 or 72, which seems even more modern. Now, a little bit about the life of Henri Matisse. He was born in a northern part of France, a relatively small town, to reasonably wealthy parents. But he was pretty much a sickly child. He did not come to art at a young age. In fact, it was only when at the age of 22, 23, he was struck down by appendicitis. He was laid up in bed that his mum gave him a set of colors just to keep him amused. And he enjoyed that time so much that he told his parents he is quitting law, which he was pursuing at that time. His father was mighty upset, and he's reputed to have screamed at him from the top of a balcony as he was leaving the house, "You're going to die hungry, you're going to die a pauper." So they weren't very happy at all, but they didn't keep him miserable. They were supportive. He moved to Paris in 1891 and applied to the École de Beaux-Arts for that term, but he was rejected. And that was where I think part of his personality kind of came out. He was not a reclusive artist as much. He was very good at networking. So apparently, he would stand outside the college gate when classes were out, and he would accost the professors and show all of them his sketches and beg them to let him attend some classes, some courses. So I think at one point, one professor relented and he started allowing Matisse to sit right in the back of the class to practice. So he was pretty much a go getter. He wasn't just sitting around waiting to be discovered. That was very interesting. So he applied again in 1890 through 2 or 3 and was rejected again. And finally, in 1895, he applied again, and that's when he was accepted. And he must have been considerably older than the rest of the students. Now, the 1890s, you can imagine, that was a time when this whole cauldron of art was really, really shaking. There was too many things from the classic age that were being rejected or thrown out, and a lot of new stuff was coming out. It was almost like that Sagar Manthan. So he joined art and in a city where some of the best artists came to showcase their work, and he was lucky to have met many of them. And in fact, he also owned several pieces of art by the artists he admired. He owned a piece of art from a painting by Cézanne, which he kept with him for over 30 years. And that painting inspired him through his dull years as well. He also owned a sketch by Van Gogh. So in Paris, when he started meeting all these artists, he was introduced to something other than classic art. Now, classic art at that time meant that you made really dull paintings, if I were to put it very bluntly. They were beautiful, they were very strict in their composition, their rules, and also in their finish. So if you were going to make a human figure, please make sure that's anatomically correct. You don't want a figure that looks like its bones are breaking. But what the newer artists were doing was questioning all of that. Why should my figure be perfect? Why should my bones not break? What if I want to make an exaggerated color tone? And it was like suddenly you have a room full of toddlers who are just asking you questions. You know how 2-year-olds just come and cannot stop asking questions. So the traditional community was just saying, "What is wrong with you guys? What are you? Why are you changing all these well-established rules?" So in the case of Matisse, I personally feel that he found a way to express himself despite the fact that he was not really a very skilled artist in the traditional sense. Now, this is something I find very significant. All of us are almost groomed to accept and appreciate only that kind of art which is very representational, where you look at someone's face and their picture and say, oh, this is the exact same person. But what it lacks in that is almost like a personal statement. It's almost like you take a document from Wikipedia and you copy it verbatim and pass it off as an essay that you have written. It'll have all the data, but it will not have a personal flavor. So, what the modern artists did was add something of their own, change something. When you look at a painting, it should not, there should be something in it that is so dramatically different that it makes you feel a particular way, one way or another. And just seeing a painting and being awed by the subject that they're trying to represent is not enough. So this whole bunch of people, Picasso, to some extent Van Gogh, and also the Impressionists, they were literally the ones who broke the gates down and started what would become the modern art movement, of which Matisse also happened to be pretty much at the beginning. And he was a pioneer of something called Fauvism. It's spelled Fauvism. So Fauvism, the word fauve in French is meant to stand for beast or wild beast, like a wild animal. And the reason why the paintings of Matisse and his co-conspirators in this movement, who were Andre Derain and another guy whose name I cannot pronounce, but you will find it. These three chaps decided to paint a certain way, which if you kept this painting next to any of the classic paintings, it seemed as if a wild beast has painted them. And these guys loved that term so much, they started calling themselves the Fauvists. So a bunch of things happened at that time which led to Fauvism. One was this whole churning of what is considered art, what is its purpose, what are we trying to say with it, all of that. And then you also had almost coincidentally, or maybe one feeding the other, the invention of chemical colors. So, ready made chemical colors in really brilliant shades started becoming available at that time. That is what enabled even the Impressionists, the Post Impressionists, the Cubists, even the Surrealists, all of them to completely change their palette. You had very rich shades, a range of colors. Even say within one green, you could create 50 different shades of green, and they were ready in tubes with which you could paint faster. You could also paint in a way that is never seen. It's like those of you who are used to painting in watercolor, if you suddenly change your painting and start using markers, you will notice that markers are way brighter than watercolors, and you make one stroke and you get this beautiful, brilliant color. Your palette will change, and that will often also change what you make with that palette. If you can make big, bold strokes with a particular tool, it's very likely that your art also changes from all these subtle colors to more bigger, bolder strokes. So that's something like that started happening with the Fauvists and this whole bunch of people. Now, before I continue with all the trivia information we have, I'm going to show some pictures so you can see what I'm talking about. At first glance, my reaction to this painting was much ado about nothing. What is this? This is just like garbage. You'd give somebody a brush and ask them to paint, and they'll just paint something, and you call it a painting. This is not right. And I personally, I think I come from the classical school, so I look at this just as nonsense. But we will, if we were to think of this as a painting that is made to essentially react to or counteract that which is accepted, then this is actually doing a good job. Let's say if we say that whatever color you see your subject in, you're not allowed to paint that item in that color. They have mostly succeeded. This idea of having only green trees almost seems as if it's a burden on the artist who says, I have so many colors on my palette. Why must I restrict myself to something that we already know exists? Why can I not make something that doesn't exist? So he has made orange trees, pink trees, and if you think about it, there are certain trees that turn orange, there are certain trees that look pink, so why not? So this almost seems as if the painting is forcing us to accept something that exists in nature, which otherwise we wouldn't see as this. Look at the shadow. The shadow over here is just horrible purple blotches. I hate it when complementary colors are used next to each other. Yellow and purple, in almost their true form, are absolute complements of each other. Even purple and orange is tolerable, but purple and yellow, out of the question. And then this kind of a mess. But here's the thing, it's this painting, it almost becomes like somebody introducing you to a new item in food or taste, which you have already decided you're not going to like. So when encountering a painting like that, I guess the first thing to do is to just see why your mind is closed. Why do you feel that this is not good? At least that was my exercise. Okay, we'll put a pin in that and move forward. Now, this was a painting which I think many people are familiar with, and this form has been used in many ways, either for animation or sometimes as still images. So this is called The Dance, and this was commissioned by a Russian collector of Matisse's paintings. And he has made the attempt in this picture is, well, I don't know whether I should explain this to you, because if I explain it, you will have no interpretation. So, what I'm going to ask you to do is take a couple of minutes and just write down a few words, maybe 3 words that come to your mind. Put it in the back of the book, on the page that we are going to make the painting, and just write the words. So, this is dance number 1. Just write down what words you think of when you see this painting. All right, we'll come back to this. Here's the next one. This is for another collection, and here you'll notice that the colors are much richer. Okay, we'll come back to the words in a bit. So if you can think of, or if you think you might want to write some more, you can do that as we proceed. This painting is called I think it's called the Red Room, and this was commissioned for the same Russian collector named Shukin. And he had originally commissioned this room to be a different color. It was painted fully in that color. And then Matisse just looked at it and said, nah, I'm not going to give it like that. And he just decided to change it and made the whole thing red. For some reason, I really like this painting, although this is not a composition that I would really appreciate. There are a few videos on how one can see the depth of these paintings on YouTube. I'll share that with you, so you'll get to see someone's perspective on it. But I just love how the colors work. They keep my eye so absorbed. Maybe because I like red a lot also. This overabundance of red and the merging of the tablecloth with the wallpaper, everything. I think my house could definitely look like that. Maybe a William Morris. The same thing that I'll put on the table, I'll probably put on the wall and the furniture. So this painting, we see it in a small scale right now, but imagine it is so big that the figure of the human is almost the size of an actual human. So when you stand in front of this picture about 6 or 10 feet away, you are in that room. And it feels beautiful. It just envelopes you. That red color almost comes out and hugs you. Okay, now here's another one. This one also, I like that. Maybe what I like in Matisse's paintings is that he enjoys patterns as much as I enjoy patterns. But his treatment of patterns is bizarre. He has gone and made these patterns so casually, and yet I quite like how they, I guess, convey the sense of the room. But while everything that is supposed to be very detailed is painted quite casually, it seems to be in proportion. And then you have this chaise longue in the back, which has so much detail, it almost seems like it dropped out from another painting altogether. Now his portraits are also interesting. This is one of the more mellow portraits because I'll share a little bit about his other portraits. Mellow in the sense many of these colors are acceptable on the face. But there are some paintings by Matisse where you have no color which resembles skin tone. You will have a pink next to a blue, next to a purple. Think of the most ridiculous combination, they'll go and put it on top of it. So I think I just hesitated so much from selecting that any of the other portraits. This one, I said it's not so bad. Every color is supposed to be where it's supposed to be, nothing different. And then this last one, second last one, this also. Here I like that we have almost like an impressionist behavior of the artist. He has tried to say that there's some fruit here, some painting here, some fabric here. Everything looks like what it's supposed to look like, but yet it's not. And this one I just love. This is so simple. It has practically no perspective. The focus is fully on the goldfish. And yet the colors, all the pinks and greens and all these weird textures, they just look beautiful. This painting was inspired by Matisse's travels to Morocco. He really enjoyed traveling to Morocco, and he would sit around apparently where I guess in the hookah bars. And I don't know what this was. In these hookah bars, people would get stoned and watch goldfish. That was a thing. It just seems like such a bizarre thing to do. But just the gliding of the goldfish in the goldfish pot, and while you're in a state of inebriation, may be a thing. I don't know. Maybe it's very relaxing. So, although we don't know whether he partook, but he definitely went and sat and observed these people, and he enjoyed the idea of goldfish so much that he made this painting. It is believed that his wife called him also a goldfish finally. That became his pet name. All right, so now we have two options. One is we can all make one painting, or we can all make a painting that we want to make ourselves. I would really like to make the goldfish painting, so I want to make that, but I'm not going to force you to do it. I will, however, give you an indication of how you can go about painting whichever painting you want using the same principles. So I will address the goldfish picture first, and I'll show you how to break it up, how to create a grid in it, and then the same thing, same kind of rules apply to making a grid in any other picture. It won't be different at all. All right, so the first thing to do is to start with making a square in this case, because I want to get the proportion of the painting itself. I don't want to arbitrarily make a rectangle and then have extra space at the top or the bottom. So I've made the square from the top, aligned to the top of the painting. And now I need to figure out how much extra space I need to leave at the bottom. So I'll cut this in half and I'll compare the two. Obviously, the bottom of the painting, the extra bit on the painting is a little more than half. But how much more? So I will cut the top half of the square in half again, and yet now it's not the amount that we need. So I continue to break the space up into smaller and smaller bits till I get the closest dimension. And I will place the square and I'll see, nope, this is also not enough, so one more cut. And I think this should be fine. So the reason I do this is because I cannot be bothered using a scale. And when you have a reference image in front of you, which is not really, you can't put a scale to it, then you just feel a little less confident. So I'll tell you the breakup over here. I have 1/2 of a square, right? And then 1/4 of the square, and then 1/8. So the extra part that we have made is 1 plus half plus 1/8. Is it 1/8? 1, 2, 3. No, it's not 1/8. 1/16. This part. But you don't have to do it this way. When you start drawing, you will just make a square, divide this in half horizontally, then the top half in half again, then this middle part in half again, and then this middle part in half again. Measure from this blue line to the bottom of the square, see how much space that is, use a pencil or something, and then mark the bottom, and then you will draw the rectangle. That's how you do it.
This is on half the A4 sheet, is it?
Half A4. So let me show you. I'll just show you this, and then you can use the same principle for the others.
Also, to make the square, we'll use the ruler, right?
No, it's all by hand.
Okay.
No ruler at all. You don't need a ruler. The only reason I don't use a ruler is because that line looks so straight, and then if you're painting that has amorphous lines, they don't look really nice. But while I resist using rulers for to draw the borders, you can use a masking tape around so that you get straight edges in the end. So right now we will make the proportion of the rectangle this way, and then once you've made those pencil lines, you can put tapes. So you won't get a straight pencil line, but you will definitely get a straight edge of the tape. All right, let me show you. So first, just observe, don't draw. I usually draw on the right hand side of the book so that I can make my notes on the left, and the picture looks good. I can just tear it and use it. So basically I need a square that's about this big. Palak, just have a look, Don't be in a rush to draw. So I want to have a picture right in the center. This is the point where you visualize a lot of things before you start drawing. So this is where you want your picture. You want ample space on the top, left, right, whatever. So if we start drawing the square here, there's a good chance that our square will come somewhere like that. So spend some time with your hands figuring out what you want where. And our rectangle is going to be about 1.5 times its width. So use your fingers to figure out how much that would be so that you can draw the line correctly. So now in this case, what you can do is, even before you draw a full square, you can just draw two sides of a square, measure that with the pencil, and then instead of drawing these horizontal lines through, you can cut just the vertical line into half, quarter, and eighths, and then measure from this part to this part, the second last line above. Is this the distance we want? Yeah, kind of. Sorry, where did I do it? Let me see what I drew before. 1 minute, I'm just going to go over this one more time. I don't want to make a mistake. So let me share that screenshot with you first. Okay, let's go over this one more time. So I divided this in half, and I'm dividing the top, not the bottom, in half, then 1/4, and then 1/8. So this is the distance I want increased. And I can use a pencil for this as well. And you don't have to draw the lines on all sides also. And of course, now if you feel that your square or your rectangle is slightly high or slightly low, literally just push it down by a certain amount and then extend it on the other side by the same amount. It's as simple as that. All right, I'm going to use my tape yet again. And just a note, whenever you make these paintings, refrain from writing the title of the painting near the painting, and definitely don't sign your name also on or near the painting. This painting and the space around it is all one composition. So if you feel the need to write anything, write it here or in the back. And I well, I'll tell you why. In a composition, all the elements are doing some work, and when you have an extra person coming, or not person, an element coming and trying to do something, even if their intention is good, it can disturb the already existing balance in the painting. When we are making the work of other artists, they one must assume that they have taken all the troubles they can to balance out their artwork. When you land up adding something new that you've not thought of, then it throws off their composition. So I guess your study starts becoming a little insincere. Okay, so this is the way you can make the frame for all the paintings. You can figure out what their proportions are. And then once that is done, you can refresh the image. And now you can cut the picture more objectively into a different grid. So here we can cut the picture in half vertically and half horizontally. So this is a grid that I use. I've just invented it for myself and it works for me. I just take whatever proportion I have and keep cutting the sides in half. Versus traditionally, when you have a grid picture, they would start from the top left and give you I guess a grid that is exactly square, exactly the same measurement, like 1 centimeter or 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So if you fit in maybe 6 squares and whatever half is left over, that's what you have to work with. But again, that requires using of a scale, which we don't want to do. So I'm adjusting the lines so that I can see that they are exactly at half points. And then you use this pretty much as a grid. You can see where the fish bowl starts and where it ends using these grid lines. So it's good to either mark the lines or the spaces in between as columns and rows. So you have A, B, C, D, and 1, 2, 3, 4, so that you can address each column independently and talk to the painting so you know what is happening. Yeah, I'm going to share this picture so you can refer to it. And now that everyone has got cameras on their phones, this is a very easy exercise to do. So whatever painting you want to make, just click a picture and use your camera phones or phones to make these lines.
Aditi, I'm not in the group, so can you message it to me or put me in the group?
Oh, yes, you're not in the group still? Oh, strange. Okay. So you are forced to do this picture also now because you don't have any other pictures.
It's okay, I'm happy to follow you.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing your message also just now only. Every line that you make, just verify that what you're doing is correct. And make these grid lines very light. And at any point, if you feel you want to know whether your proportion is right, you can cut that section further also. Like in the case of the fish bowl, the bowl comes down to about 1/3 the way down, oh, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and A, B, C, D. So I'm drawing this in column B, row 2. It comes 1/3 down, row 2, because the water comes 2/3 down. And what I recommend first is to just draw basic straight lines. Don't get into drawing details right now. Are you able to see all the elements with respect to the grid lines? Do you notice how this painting almost looks like he's painted it in watercolor? Between the light colors and the dark colors over here at the base, even over here, while you can paint a green on top of black, you can see that line between the two colors. I don't know why he's chosen to make this like almost like a watercolor by dodging colors. You don't need to do that. So one tip when you are looking at paintings, it's a good idea to also read up a little bit about the history of that region at that time, because sometimes they will say this artist was very active in the political circuit and had a lot to say with their paintings and all, and you don't know what they're talking about, and it turns out to be a civil war or something which you would never hear about, or it would happen to be World War, which at least we have some idea about. But there is a marked difference in how artists used to work before and how artists started working afterwards. So the period of turmoil all over Europe at that time did make artists feel more responsible and also more vocal. They just felt that they had to take a stance. And may have been many people, not just artists, but their work echoed the sentiment of everything happening around them. These are the artists whose works I feel now are significant because they chose to not just stand by. So remember when painting anything, we are very susceptible to miscalculating space required, and also therefore then size required of whatever we are drawing. So before you make the shape, just check that it is looking okay. That is the size that you wanted, not smaller. And this is the way you can start discerning the right proportion. Now, before you start painting, erase all the grid lines. So, twist your erasers into a shape like that, and only address the vertical and horizontal perpendicular lines. Now, ideally, to paint this picture, address each section separately, and although the dark colors are very dominant over here, we will paint those last. So you can start off with painting everything that is pink, like the background over here, the pink flowers here, also a bizarre pink on top of black table. Now I'll figure out how to get that effect, but definitely the pink has to go first. And as is very rare in our case, this time we are going to use a little bit of white in our red to create that pink. And the other colors can be, you can just use a mix of scarlet with a little bit of crimson. That crimson gives a very nice uh, vibrancy to scarlet. Now, before you paint anything, please make a color sample to see that you've got the right shade. And knowing that watercolor changes its color after it has dried, after pigment has settled, it helps to wait to see what's happening to your color. Right. So I've mixed a lot of white in this, and thankfully, this artist has given us very patchy painting to do. So you don't have to really make washes. In fact, go ahead and make a very patchy color application. So dodge around the green lotus leaves, or I think these are Brahmi leaves. And in fact, I think you can dodge around their stem also. And now notice how I have gone and made a huge gap between the leaves, but as it turns out, there is no gap. The pink finishes here. So a lot of things you will learn even while you begin painting. Okay, one second, I just need to take a call. Oops, I forgot to make a plant here altogether. So this painting has to be made in what I often tell you not to do. Just do all of that over here, which means go over and over a space even after it has been painted. Don't just stain. If the brush is a little dry, that will give you more texture. This is an excellent example of what I often say. No matter how you paint or how bad you think your painting is, it's never bad or never wrong. It's always at its worst just inappropriate. So if you were to reject any particular way of painting, if this meant dry brush or something that is, if you consider too patchy, all you're doing is actively forgetting something, a technique which you could effectively use somewhere else.
Aditi, I have a very stupid question.
It's not stupid, tell me.
So when I mix the red and white,
Mm-hmm.
I have the that the slabs of the paint, right? So I put it in a plate and mix it, right? I don't mix it in the box. You get my question?
Yes, this is how you make it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's what I was asking. Yeah.
Now, in the same color, you can add some crimson on the side. So, once you've made your pink, the next color that you make, if it requires a pink, don't change that. Take some on the periphery somewhere like that, so that you need only a small quantity of that, and make these flowers here. And these flowers, mind you, they are made just with strokes. So you just have to make brief strokes like these. They are deliberately fairly crude. So here, be careful, don't go over it too much, otherwise your strokes will just go into each other. And of course, be also mindful, if there's wet paint nearby, avoid painting there. The next colors can be green. If you notice, we have a very interesting mix of greens. In our kit, we have a warm green, that's sap green, and we have a cool green, which is emerald green. And you'll notice that in our illustration, the sap green runs from northwest to southeast, and then on the two other corners, the color used is emerald green. It's a very weird combination. I don't know if it works, but I guess it is what it is. So the warm sap green can be used on most of the leaves from northwest side corner to the southeast side, and the hand railing and the second set of flowers on the right will get a different color altogether. So even with sap green, avoid using the color just by itself. Take just a little bit of cobalt blue next to it. I have a dark green here, which also I'm going to dip into. So I generally prefer to allow a little bit of intuition to carry colors. In in these leaves, there is a central circle that is left unpainted. You'll have to be a little careful painting this circle. It's not unpainted, I think it's just a light color, but I'm painting it, keeping it white. It is doing something to that texture. So use a thin brush for this. And maybe it's not there at all. Now, I've not mentioned this, but I hope all of you are also using a rag when you're painting. It's not enough just to have watercolors, brushes, and water container. Between colors, wash and wipe your brush and then dip in the next color. This little leaf over here, which looks like a monstera, I'm first painting it a light shade of the green with a lot of water, and then after this dries, I'll paint it one more time. And I'll try with the other leaves if I want to paint it with a thick paint, and also using a little bit of a darker shade. So, those of you who attended last year, sometime we had done this illustration of glassware. Here's an excellent example of how to render transparency of glass. But you don't have to do this with too much detail, accuracy, let's say. It's so simple and yet so evocative. It says exactly what we need to see, but it's done very simply. Oh, I completely forgot the lemon yellow. I just couldn't see it. Oops. I don't know why I thought the pink was the lightest color. This color is a combination of lemon yellow as well as gamboge. And I think if you want, you can paint the whole section in that. The outline of the goldfish is visible, so you can just paint that oval fully, and you will paint the goldfish part from top. And then put that same yellow color at the bottom, and on the leaves of these plants on the side. Okay, so now seems to be an appropriate time to ask, what were the words that you wrote when you saw Dance Part 1?
I wrote ritual, tribal,
Okay,
celebration, animalism.
animalism. Okay, all right.
Uh, I wrote liberating, harmonious, spontaneous.
Okay, that's nice.
Uh, for me, I think I saw the lost connection between two of them. So for me, that was the highlight. So
Sorry, I didn't get that. You lost connection.
I saw a lost connection between two of them in both the dance paintings. So that's what I wrote. One is reaching out and the other one is twirling away. So
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, how interesting.
The
Yes.
second one I thought was aggressive. I wrote aggression, more
Okay.
aggressive as compared to the first one. So
Okay, that's also good. Nice. So, yeah, I mean, what I wanted to just experience was something that you would see if a group of like six of us, eight of us were to go to a museum. If we were to see the picture painting and we all just look at it and have the same reaction, it is it would be a loss for all of us, because I'm sure the painting can be seen in so many different ways. And if I were to tell you what I saw, I would cloud your judgment. So now, while all of us have seen it, all of us can share an opinion, and the fun is in how many different ways can you interpret this painting. So in the beginning, it helps if there's somebody who will share an interpretation or at least the intent of the artist with us. But eventually, at some point, you need to start just coming up with your own understanding of a painting. And the other thing is also to see, to I guess, become or force yourself to become open minded, because we can be very rigid, or we can become very rigid, and we won't even realize it. And in that rigidity, I think then things start becoming very almost like militant. You want to save that, and you don't want to agree with anybody. So I mean, I'm fully capable of doing that. So I have to tell myself constantly, just let it be, just see what is happening. And the fallout often is that you realize that you have a lot more to that you can accept, and the reasons why you liked something before may not exist anymore. They may not be valid anymore. Okay, here goes the staircase. So I have mixed white with what's this color? Emerald green.
Aditi, from my palette, can you help me with the green for the leaves?
Yes. Let's see.
I sent you a pic.
Ah, great. Okay. Yes, let me point it out to you. For the warm green color, you can use this,
Mm-hmm.
and this for shading in the same, and this is your cobalt blue, I think. No, sorry, not that one. You can use this one. This is more cobaltish. All right, and for the bluish green, you can use this one down here.
Hmm. So you're saying to mix some of the cobalt in the green for
The warm green, yes.
yeah,
But
yeah.
don't mix it. Keep it on the side so that you can dip into it and use it.
Acha,
Because we do not want the color to be uniform.
okay, got it. Thanks.
So it has to be a little streaky.
Yeah.
I think one of the loveliest things that I enjoy in modern art paintings or studying them is the freedom you need to draw these lines. I get very caught up in drawing a lot of details. And although the details look nice, no doubt, they can look rather clunky also. They just look too heavy on a painting sometimes. Then I also like that in some paintings you get to use unusual colors, just because that treatment is what will work best for the.
Shade is this of the railing?
Sorry,
The railing, which shade are we using?
that's the one you use. Emerald green with white. I have never used emerald green, I think. There's such few occasions to use emerald green because that shade is so unnatural. And the same color can be used on top of the the yellow part that we have at the bottom, but use a dry brush to paint that. Now mostly the rest is all just black. So, towards the end of his life, imagine by 94, Matisse had severe health problems because of which he could not stand too long. And that's when he started making those collages. I'm sure you must have seen those floaty collages. Um, I think that's where that whole adage comes from. Artists don't die. And the collages also started becoming very interesting. So he started using print techniques to recreate those almost as paintings. Now notice how the some of the black comes into the glass, but not all of it. So on the right here, there is some green also. So I'm using a combination of this emerald green along with black. Sorry, there's construction happening right above now. Okay, so here's a picture of the painting that I was talking about, a Fauvist style of painting. This is a portrait of his wife, and you can see how the colors used make no sense at all on a face. And I guess it's anecdotally believed that his wife was asked by people around, "Is everything okay with your marriage? What is wrong with your husband? Why is he insulting you with this painting?" So I guess again, it's everyone had an opinion, and the opinion was that these guys don't know what they're doing. All right, so we have 10 minutes before we finish. So I want to know, how's everyone doing? Do you have any questions, any comments? You can complete the painting afterwards. I have another workshop to take for 120 kids in an hour. So I just need to prepare for that. So I will have to end class exactly at 12:30 today so I can run off. But I'd like to know what you think about this artist.
I feel his work is very stark, very bright, stark, and it's like the naked truth just coming. There's nothing, he's not hiding anything.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, nice.
And I mean, normally we kind of embellish with lots of. So here it is like in your face, this is it. This is what I see.
Is this like what the young people nowadays call hashtag no filter? Like that.
Maybe. Acha, before you go,
Yeah.
Aditi, I just want a list of the color mix because I missed out a few while you were, mentioning. So
The colors?
the colors, the colors that we have been using. So there's some, I mean, the yellows and all, I just forgot what you were mixing. Gamboge and yellow or something.
We have two yellows. You can use one or the other or mix the two, it doesn't matter. Amongst the greens, though, there are two distinct greens. So from northwest to southeast corner, that whole range somehow has sap green mixed with cobalt blue. Those are the two colors. But the cobalt blue is only used for places where you want to make a dark stroke.
Darker.
Don't change the sap green. You can just put sap green through and through, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay. Okay.
And on the other side, and through some of the dark black, so from the northeast to the southwest, the color is emerald green mixed with white.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so at some point, hopefully, I will also finish this painting and I will share it. But I think I will be able to share the video definitely by tomorrow.
Aditi, can you
So
actually
that grayish,
I will, yes. Sorry, go ahead.
the blackish grayish shade will be
The blackish grayish is
on
on the
the,
right hand side of the
yes.
painting. That one I have continued to use the same emerald green shade, but you can just use two shades of black. So first make one
Okay.
shade and then go over black just on the left of that section.
Okay.
Okay, so the Saturday group had so much trouble accepting this artist. There was lots of anguish, and a couple people, they tried 2 3 paintings. They just said, we can't get behind this artist, it just doesn't seem to work, the colors just don't seem to work. And that is actually that's a good thing when encountering an artist and making a study, because that just means that you allowed for all the colors and compositions and everything to interact with you more intimately. They challenge you, you start becoming more when you have to defend. I don't know whether you've been through this before, But say you have a stance on anything and somebody else in a discussion has an opposite stance, you are required to then sharpen your own argument. It does not happen if everything is in agreement. So, if you find an influence from another artist that is starkly different from what you do, that helps you to solidify why you do what you do, why you like what you like. And if you do not have a conviction in that, then you can allow the new artist to show you something else that you might not have tried before. So that's where the study comes in handy. Now, like I said last week, Joan Miro. This week, Henri Matisse. Not my favorite artists. I would never put up either of their paintings on the wall. But now that we have made the paintings, I like them a little more, or I don't hate them as much, is what I can say. But it's still going to take me some time before I will replicate a Kandinsky. I just cannot stand Kandinsky. So that may happen next year. Right. So for next week, I again have no artist. And in yesterday's class with the kids, we actually made an Avengers illustration. So now I'm thinking I don't need to restrict us to just the classical arts. Would you like to do something like that? We can try doing a comic book theme. The young mothers will become very popular, especially
There's this artist, right, Aditi, in the modern artists only. He does like really bright pops of shadows. Who's that? And then they used it for Campbell soup.
Is that Andy Warhol?
Ah, right. Yes, right.
Yeah. And also Roy Lichtenstein actually made comic book like art, but he made them as a painting. So yes, I can do that. Under the guise of doing that, we can do Avengers. But if you think that there's something else that you'd like to do, definitely share it with me in the next 2-3 days so I can do a little bit of a study.
The young kids are really into anime. At least my son is a teenager and he's really into Japanese anime. I would love to do something like that at some point.
Yeah, that is nice too. Let me see. If there are any anime characters
Yeah, I'll send you.
popular, just send me because that's also a very nice illustration style. Okay, so I guess that's it. I'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Aditi.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.